How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and let's go ahead and talk about my 1984 Porsche 944 that's sitting right behind me. What's been going on with this car and why I haven't been doing any videos on it. In fact, I have been doing videos on it quite a bunch, and I keep running into issues, and one major one that I finally resolved that has been kind of tying me up, and I haven't been able to do work on most of my cars. And you guys can see I've got my W140 Dr. Dre here. Haven't really done much videos on that, but I finally feel relieved because the Porsche is running properly, and it was such a stupid mistake by me that was causing all these issues. So let's go ahead and kind of skip back and talk about where we're at, the things that I'm doing on this car, and what we're going to focus on this video. So, like I said, this is my 1984 Porsche 944 that I've been building into a track or a weekend fun kind of hit the street type car by taking away as much weight savings things as we could, so the unnecessary things for a kind of typical track car. So AC, heater, all that stuff's been kind of getting pulled out as I've been recording, putting in a lightweight battery, deleting some things. So all of my vacuum lines I started to delete except for your fuel ones over here and my brake one that goes down here. That's where my major issue came into play. So let's get back a little bit over a year ago. I had tried to work on the cooling system, and when taking this cap cover off here, I snapped the bolt into the head because it was all rotted out, and I had to drill it out. That's where my first issue started. Now I finally have gotten that fixed off. And while I was working on that, I decided to clean down the engine and did a video on that, and that's why it looks so good right now, because I got everything painted, cleaned down, all back together, and deleted a lot of things like I said. Unfortunately, I missed capping off the vacuum port that's up underneath our intake manifold here. So it's right up underneath there, and it was causing the car to basically not run properly at all. In fact, it barely run. And I started diagnosing everything. I started pulling everything out, and you guys will see here shortly, the interior of the car is a disaster because I was just trying to figure out what was creating this issue. So I was testing all the different modules and ordering in stuff. And I ordered in a new AFM, or a used AFM, but one that was tested and good, and it does work right because the other one wasn't like giving me good readings. So it's probably good that I did swap that one out, because I even tried cleaning down the old one and going through the testings, and nothing would get it to properly function. So that's been swapped out. Then I went ahead and ordered in a new throttle body because I needed a throttle position sensor, and ironically, a throttle body with a throttle position sensor that was supposedly tested good was cheaper than just a throttle position sensor. So ordered that in, and yes, the throttle position sensor that was on it was not testing right, and this one is testing good. So once again, another thing I might need to swap out anyways, but did not resolve the problem. So I moved on to a couple other things testing, and that's when I figured out that I had not capped off the vacuum line up underneath our intake manifold here. So that was yesterday, I figured that out. Once I capped that off, started it back up, the car is running great. The idle is off right now, mainly because I had been playing around with so many different things. I adjusted the idle screw here all over the place, adjusted my throttle cable all over the place, trying to figure out what the problem was. So once again, I am so relieved right now that that's fixed, because I can finally start enjoying this car, and everything that I'm going to do now moving forward will be much easier to test, and I'll be able to test drive the car and all that. So what a huge relief. So let's look at the inside here so you guys can get an idea of all of the stuff that's in here. So I've just been working on so many things, and like I said, we're trying to reduce some of the weight, get rid of all the things that are unnecessary, and that's why my center console's out. Also because I'm putting in new gauges, which was another video I was working on. And then we come down here and you'll see all of this is pulled out because I was testing modules. I was testing relays and all that type of stuff. So all of this has to go back in because I want to go take this car out on a ride. And you can see here my front splitter's off because obviously we were working on cleaning down the engine, and that gave me access to up underneath. Last thing is I don't have a alternator on here because the alternator happened to be bad as well, and I had ordered in the delete plate right here for the compressor, so that's been pulled out, and I wanted to order a lightweight alternator. I didn't end up doing that. I did order a regular alternator. I think I'm going to do the lightweight one down the road because I just didn't want to spend all that money right now after all these other things that I went ahead and bought that were unnecessary. I figured just throw the regular alternator in there. I was able to get it pretty cheap from Advanced Auto, so that'll be going in as well. I'm just waiting for that to come in. And then we just need to clean everything up in here. And if you guys didn't notice, or if you haven't seen the video yet, I put headers on here and I had to pull the exhaust off because it was just thrown together. If you guys haven't seen the video where I put the HKS muffler on, which looks awesome, I think sounds absolutely amazing. The one thing that I did not do was weld anything. So everything was just kind of strapped up in there. There was tons of leaks. So right now what we're gonna do is going to weld up this cherry bomb muffler, which is gonna sit right after the headers. This is what replaced our catalytic converter. So what I had was just this cherry bomb muffler coming back to the HKS and a bunch of crappy piping. So with like really cheap straps on there. So what we're gonna do right now is at least get our cherry bomb muffler back on there because I wanna see how that's gonna sound. And I'll give you guys a demo of how that's gonna sound. And then I'll try to work on getting the rest of these pipes because I got to put all that together. I got to go down to, I think, the auto parts store probably and measure everything out and get the right size pipes so I can try to weld that together. So I picked up a newer welder and I've been practicing and I feel very comfortable with it. So I'm definitely going to be able to at least weld on this adapter here, which will go to the header and allow me to attach the cherry bomb and be able to take the cherry bomb off. And then after that, I'm probably gonna weld everything up so that it's all one piece coming back to the HKS muffler. So let's get going, let's get started so we can kind of see where we get with this video. But I really wanna just show you guys where this car was at and what's been going on and all the headaches that I've had over the last year or a little bit more than a year on this car. And I'm excited that I'm gonna be able to drive it now. So let's get going. Guys, it's all up in there mounted. I did it without jacking the car up or lifting it up at all. And you can see there, I've got the clamp on there. We got to clean up that end so we can attach the rest of the piping down to our muffler, probably the very next video. But for right now, let's go ahead and get her started up so you can hear what it sounds like with the headers and the glass pack on there. Pretty loud, kind of obnoxious actually. I really prefer the way it's going to sound with the glass pack and that HKS muffler once we get everything hooked up. But right now I got to let the car warm up. As you can see, the idle is pretty high. I want to go ahead and get it until it's up to temperature, and then I'll adjust my idle screw and hopefully we get this thing tuned in. Well guys, unfortunately more issues just came up, and first off, the car is overheating. I had to shut it down, and I really haven't ran it for as long as I just had, so it could just need to be bled out. I only added distilled water to the system and haven't bled it yet, so that can be an easy fix. Now, the second one is more concerning because there is a ton of oil puddling and dripping down the engine here. Let me see if I can get a good angle. And at first look, you would definitely think it's the oil separator, but I just changed the seals on that oil separator, and it looks like it's coming from more of the middle area. Now, of course, it could be coming down the oil separator and coming over, but without pulling off this intake manifold again, I won't know exactly where it's coming from. So I don't know if there's anything else that could be leaking there, any seals. So we will do some investigating And that's going to be the next step, because I need to get this thing running right and not gushing out oil so we can actually take it for a drive. So let me go ahead and start looking into this. I'm actually going to post on some forums and see if I can get any advice on moving forward. So hopefully we figure this out and we can keep on moving. Guys, after a post and a little bit of research, I've narrowed it down to most likely going to be the balance shaft seal, and that is located right over here. You see that little circle, and you can see oil seeping out of that. So there's an O-ring underneath this casing. It's pretty simple to change out, but it's even easier to just put some sealant along there. So I've got some Permatex, and what we're going to do is clean that down really well, Permatex that, and I know that that works because, ironically, when I first fired this motor up, I noticed a big leak coming from underneath our headers here, and it happened to be the rear lower balance shaft seal. So almost identical to the way that this one looks. You have one down below here, and that one was leaking as well. That one takes a lot more stuff to come off to get to than this upper one here. So we're gonna fix this upper one here correctly, but for right now, so I can get this car running, take it for a test drive, and just enjoy this beautiful weather we've got right now with a car that I haven't driven in over a year. So we're gonna seal this off. We're gonna use some black Permatex, which is an oil resistant Permatex. But like I said, we're gonna clean this down really well with some brake cleaner and then allow that Permatex to dry over about 24 hours. So let's go ahead and get that on there, get this thing back together, and we can start driving this hopefully. And right there is where I sealed off the rear lower seal, and you can see there's no oil at all around it, so it's definitely working, and it's ran quite a few times. So a bunch of times I started it when the car was idling real bad, and then when we fixed that crazy idle by closing off the vacuum port, I ran it that whole time we were adjusting the idle, and the other side was leaking like crazy, but this side has no oil residue. So pretty confident that this is going to work, at least as a short-term temporary solution for us to be able to drive it. So let's let that other one cure off and start her up and see if it's leaking. Well, guys, everything is all back together. She started up beautifully, and as you can tell, it is idling absolutely amazing. So I'm very, very happy about that. Still got to get it up to temp so we can see if any oil is leaking, but so far nothing coming down the side of the engine here, so that's good news. Also, I haven't done the coolant yet, so I got to keep an eye on those temps just to make sure it doesn't creep up again on me. But I think we're going to be good to see if we're going to get any oil leaking down it. So I'll fill you guys in here in a second, but listen to that engine idle. Amazing. I can't wait to take this thing for a drive. Hey guys, we are up to full temp, so I want to get this thing shut down pretty quickly so we can swap out the coolant and bleed it, but I wanted to show you this. No oil leaking at all, maybe a little seeping from the dipstick, but I plan on doing the dipstick and the cam seals once we get this thing all up and running, so I'm going to be doing that shortly. Let me go ahead and get this shut down. We'll drain out the coolant, we'll redo the coolant, and we'll go ahead and bleed it. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up, but I got so much stuff done off camera. This ended up being a lot different of a video than I was originally planning, because I did not plan for those leaks and some of the other things to be fixed. But at this point, I have the full exhaust on there. The car sounds absolutely amazing. It is idling near perfect, and there are zero oil leaks. I mean, it is not dripping even a little drop, and there are no cooling leaks. So we were definitely successful on this video, and I am actually blown away with how well this little tiny battery is holding up. So this is a battery that I picked up to be a lightweight alternative to what I had. I think it was like 25 pounds less than the battery that was already in the car when I got it. So a significant decrease in weight. And I went ahead and hooked up the alternator, and everything seems to be charging right. I haven't had any starting issues. And you can see the car is actually still cold right now, so it is starting to warm up, and it is idling really, really nice. And you can see I've got the new alternator down there on our AC delete bracket, which was a task in itself to get set up. I had to drill out the alternator, but not a whole lot of stuff to do on that. It went in about, 30, 40 minutes. Outside that, like I said, went ahead and welded up the entire exhaust system, and it is sounding absolutely amazing. A little vibration right now, you can see all the way down, And there's a little vibration, mainly because I've got to hook up some rubber straps onto there to kind of isolate the vibration of the metal. So it's just up in there now with no isolators on it. And then outside that, I went ahead and pulled the dash back apart after putting it back in, because I'm going to get rid of all of the unnecessary wires. So that's going to be the next video, or one of the up and coming videos, because I have so many videos in process right now. And you can see here, temperature gauge is working there, and once it gets up a little bit more in temperature, that temperature gauge is going to work as well. And the way that I hook those up is I ran them completely different. So one is working off the block temperature, like the original temperature gauge, and that's that digital one you saw. So working right off of up here. And then the other one I connected into our cooling line here. So once this opens up our thermostat, that'll start heating up and you'll start seeing that temperature. So that'll give us the water temperature. So we got a block temperature and a water temperature, and they run very close in temperatures once you get going, and it is not overheating at all. My fans are kicking on properly. In fact, I'm gonna install a toggle switch to be able to flip my fans on high if I'm sitting at a light, because I don't want this car getting up really high in temperatures in the summer, because I don't want the fans kicking on, off, on, off. I just want to be able to stabilize the temperature if I get stuck at a light. So lots of information, guys, but I wanted to fill you in with where this car's been, some of the things that I'm doing to it, and just getting it ready to be a track monster. So I'm very excited about this car, because it is running and driving so good, and it is such a fun car to drive. And I can finally start moving on to doing some more fun things like suspension, brakes, and all that type of stuff. That's just going to make this car a blast to take to the track. Once again, you guys have an awesome day, a blessed week, and I'll catch you on the next video.